Okay, so during my recent trip to 10 Chambers Studio to play Den of Wolves early, I had the opportunity to interview the legendary Ulf Andersson. During the interview, we spoke about difficulty, narrative and storytelling, the dive mechanic, console support, and so much more. This is my first time conducting an interview in an environment like this, and while there's a couple things I look back on and wince at, I think it went really well. I had no idea what to expect going into this, as I actually had the first interview slot out of the whole event. So without further ado, and I still can't really wrap my head around the fact that I get to say this, I hope you enjoy my interview with Ulf Andersson.
I guess the first thing I wanted to ask is, there are creators here now, people are actually playing the game for what I believe is the first time.
Yeah.
How are you feeling? How's the team feeling? Like, what's that like?
I think it's a mix of fear and disgust. No, but it's sort of like nobody wants to show anything at any point, you know. It's like procrastination village up there. Everybody's, oh no, but we're not ready to. So that's why, this is one of the reasons why we do these press events when we go to Gamescom and Tokyo and other places, is because we force ourselves to show the thing, even if it's too early, right? And this is to sort of counter the problem we have from the old days of doing like Gold Master CDs even. So, because everything, there wasn't, like you could barely patch something. It was like, what was it? 10% of the end user base would downloaded patches. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You had to go to a specific site and like nobody knew, oh, I don't know if I want to patch the game, it feels weird, you know? So you would have to ship things that was perfect all the time. And the way, because of, I mean, we're now in a sort of a situation where we can do just digital sales, which is super nice. But also that means you have a different interaction with people and this kind of thing. And people, to get over that procrastination, we tend to just like, here it is. But it also helps a lot in just, you know, seeing what people do and how they play the game, getting some wind in the sails. I mean, I personally hate everything I do, and then when I release it, I hate it even more, you know. So so that means like seeing somebody enjoy something, it gives you some sort of indication that that's enough of that. That part is okay now. I can move on to this other part, you know. So it's to help psychology mainly, you know.
Kill your darlings, they say. Eventually you've got to let something out the door.
Yeah, exactly. Even ugly babies are your babies. So you gotta.
Very true, very true. Because what you were saying about physical releases being less harder to patch.
To do, or even, yeah.
We are obviously in a much more digital world, and there are avenues with things like early access, which I know gamers launching or going into early access before a launch.
Yeah, but I you know, early access is such a different concept for different developers. I think you see stuff coming out. I know when we shipped GTFO early access, everybody was like, but this game is finished, like when they played it, you know, or the quality is way higher than expected and this kind of thing. And it's because we want it to be good. We don't want to run that, you know, just ship something to get money in, but it's a piece of shit. Like we can't do that.
Of course.
But the early access gives us the opportunity to not be feature complete. And even if we have features completed, we tend to, the strategy is to hold back on things so we can balance the game properly and sort of gather data on the things that we need to gather data on. And it's such a luxury in comparison to like working on something for 2 years and then like shipping it. And then it's like, I wonder if they like it. Like you have no idea.
You have that more consistent feedback, I guess, within early access.
But on the other hand, it's equally important not to listen to people much, rather just look at how they're playing it.
Of course.
Even like when we do QA testing, that's something we try to focus on also, is not to have like, oh, what did you think? It's rather like just video record when you were playing and record what was said in the room, you know, or over Discord. So you can sort of hear what the problems are and where the highs and the lows are, and get the mood basically of it.
Certainly. I mean, what we struggled with a little bit this morning is the difficulty, because it's a punishing heisting game.
Yeah, sure. But did you play 2 maps or 1?
We played both maps,
Oh,
both
okay,
maps
okay.
that were available in the
So
build
do you
we were
think
at.
the first one was hard?
We failed the first one more than because the first one was one of the prep heists.
Yeah.
And the second one was the full heist itself.
Yeah.
And we found the prep heist harder, but I think that's because we were just picking up and learning.
Yeah.
With the full heist though, or even just the prep heist, how many difficulties are we going to have at launch? Is that something we know, we can know?
What we're looking at is maybe not like classical difficulties, but like a way to play. So we have these, it's called a storyline. It's sort of like a string of missions in a campaign, but it's not linear as much. It's more like it's a lot of the planning and the player group's choices affects the storyline type thing. But so imagine being able to say, let's play that storyline but with these cards on it. It's like modifiers to a thing, right? So rather than saying like, let's play everything on easy, you would say, okay, we're going to bring down the difficulty, but it's going to give us something else, less of something else or more of something else. So like shifting it in directions that makes it interesting.
So it's more of like a liquid approach or a fluid approach to difficulty, if you will.
Yeah, and arguably makes it more fun in the end because it's more varied, But also it's a bit of a cheat from our point of view because we don't have to nail like a perfect, this is perfect easy or this is perfect normal. You can have a bit of a playing field of difficulties,
Yeah, that push and pull.
But again, like a good cooperative game is hard. It doesn't have to be GTFO hard. And this is certainly not GTFO hard. But I think failing in cooperative is key. Failing and trying again. Not all the time, but like if you beat a couple of maps and then you run into something that's super hard and you keep failing on it, you're gonna start thinking about your gear and what you're doing, how you're playing, and how you're communicating, and what to do when, and this kind of thing. Otherwise, you don't. And not until you fail, right? So the magic is where you beat some stuff, and then you start failing, and then you try something else, you play some other map, and then you have to come back to this one, and that's where the magic is, I think.
Definitely. I mean, the most we learned were the few times we failed, we completely changed our approach.
Yeah.
And on the subject of approaches, the heist we got to play, the final heist, we snuck in to the bank. We got in with sort of a Trojan horse under the guise of a deal. And I'm wondering, obviously with these different approaches, we have so much control over how we get in, because I understand that we could have equally fought our way through if we had the option of playing that, and that would have changed the setup missions.
Think about it like, instead of saying, I'm gonna play the last mission like this, and then you get 10 options and it's a combination of all the options. It's more about what you were exposed to when leading up to the mission. So it depends on the story, really. But like, if you start playing a story and you don't necessarily know where the location is, you have to have find the clues and find certain things. In a certain seed of this storyline, there might not be even an option to do that deal, So once you run into it, you go, we got the chance to do that thing, But slightly different than last time. And because we did this other thing and fucked it up, now there's the Strass dudes that show up towards the end there. They're way worse than they were. So now we have to prep in a different way. And maybe we've modified the Strass and now they play a bit differently. So now you have to think about your gear in a different way,
So it's really granular.
So trying to play with the different things we have without the game exploding into like a super custom narrative cutscene, we're producing 20 cutscenes. Because it's more about replayability really, and throwing different challenges at you basically in that sense.
When we decide to embark on a certain campaign or a certain set of heists, walk us through that sort of decision-making process. What are we looking at?
So it depends on the story, but the one that we're working on currently, a good example would be, you're looking for a thing. You're searching for a person. And to find this person, you have to go to multiple locations and try to figure out where this person is kept. So now you're starting to build like a set of clues to where this person is kept. Eventually, you'll find the person or a clue leading to the location where the person is kept. That location might differ a bit, and the missions you were playing to get the information is more missions than like, so it's not like, oh, here's 3 missions. It's more like, here's 8, but you really only need to play 4 of them, but there might be more clues in there. But if you play them, that might mess with something else. So the more I fuck around over here, the harder this gets. But am I willing to trade that for the potential to find something else, right? So it's like player choice. To have a choice, you have to be able to make the wrong choice or fail at something. So we're also like, oh, we did this, and now that's really hard. So now we have to do it in a different way. Or in some cases, you'll go, actually, we fucked this storyline up. We have to restart the whole storyline in a worst case, right? So it's like trying to get you to think about your choices or trying to make some sort of informed decision. And sometimes it's a bit of luck, and sometimes, it's about skill, or sometimes it's just, we have a couple of missions that's fun to play,
Cool. It's good to have a mix, because I understand as well there's a mix of different types of missions. There's like, there's heists, there are assassinations.
I mean, you got the more like the first one you played. It's very light on narrative, you could say. You could find something that leads to a bigger narrative, but it's very light on that storytelling part. It's a very like, let's play it on a lunch. I don't need to listen to all the dialogue. I don't need to, there's not a lot of that stuff. It's more about the gameplay side of it. Maybe you'll find some resources, maybe you'll find some stuff that's gonna benefit you in the future, right? But then there's the narrative heavy things, and I think the one you played is one of the more heavy things. So it's a long walk in, there's a long thing. But it's that walk-in part is reflecting what's happened in the storyline so far, and it's reflecting the choices you've made, or the fuck-ups you've made, basically, during the storyline. So that's, I think we can take the time to do that. But it's towards the end of that chapter, basically, saying like, okay, now, take your time and, don't throw it into a lunch. That's a Friday, So like prepping for that and psyching up for that, like, let's try it tonight. Let's try. That's something we've tried to design for before, but failed a couple of times and sort of shied away from it. Where it's like there's a difference of weight in missions without saying, the first map is easy and the last one is super hard, and that's it, or telling a linear story. Because it's like cooperative games in general, or like things that are replayable, they can be linear, I guess, but it's more fun if they're a bit open and a bit of a surprise every time,
Of course. I loved that opening section where you're walking through with the canister, because something that was pointed out to me is those screens that are playing interviews and news broadcasts reflect sort of the previous chapters of that story segment. Yeah. And there were other things you could find in there narratively. I'm a massive narrative guy. That's my shtick. Yeah. So to be able to...
Some people are in your player group, and then there's other people who's just like checking the phone while it's happening.
Exactly.
Like, let's just go through the thing. That's also a good point of like, when are you forcefully going through narrative? Like in this case, like it's still passive, but you have to go through that sequence, right? And then there's other cases where we rely more on like, information blobs being unlocked on a map sort of thing. Because then that means like you and me, we can play 4 maps in the evening, and then I fuck off. And then you're like, oh, I can dig through the information things we've unlocked. And then you text me the day after going like, oh, we found this thing and this has happened and this kind of thing. And when I come back in, I can actually take part of that story too. While if it's like, let's play a cutscene at the end of the mission, and then let's vote if we click away from and everybody just clicks away from I don't want to see another cutscene. Like I want to play because I have limited time. Like let's go. And I think that social, like getting cooperative players together is the most like precious time you have as a player. It's like I'm playing with this person for 3 hours and that's it. After that, I can tinker with my stuff or read backstory shit, you know. So it's finding the pacing and designing a game that delivers into that is I wouldn't say has been a challenge. It still is a challenge. It's a challenge every day, but yeah.
One of the things I'm personally a massive fan of is when there is so much stuff to dig in that might need communities to work together to try and solve or uncover things. And I know to sort of build up a bit of publicity, you guys did the event with the streamers for the Game Awards and linked them through to an ARG website with just some little nuggets and little things to sink our teeth into. And I've noticed there are 16 segments of that ARG website and only 2 we've got unlocked. So I think it's safe to anticipate that maybe some more stuff will be coming there. But I've got to ask, are there things to look out for in game that might hint to bigger things?
I mean, it's been, when did we start doing that? I think it was on Payday 1 we started doing it for real, trying to hide things, and you know, there's a radio here, or there's a pillar formation, or there's subtle hints about stuff, and that kind of thing is really fun to do. I'll say that.
It's fun to be on the other side of as well. So
yeah,
hopefully.
To be completely frank, that's where you end up if you think you have a solid foundation with the rest of the stuff. Because that kind of thing is, yes, it's publicity, but it's also for a very small amount of the audience. A very loving piece of the audience. But like I think it's more important, for us it's always more important to nail like the gameplay stuff first. And then once you see like, okay, now everything is working and we can chill a bit, then that's when that starts to like seep into the game, I think.
So the door is open, the door's not closed?
Oh, no.
To touch on story for one last little thing, the different types of campaigns we can play and the different story segments, are they...
You're really good at remembering your questions, by the way.
Oh yeah, I've got my phone here. I haven't looked at it once. No. I'm going to have to now for the next question. Just you wait. But the story segments that we get to play through, are they more like anthology stories, or is there one overarching story?
So to be able to play them separately and in any order really, or replay one, or say I'm playing one with you and I'm playing one with Robin at the same time, and I might be playing the same storyline with both of you, but it's slightly different takes on it. They need to be fairly encapsulated and fairly isolated. And if we make one choice in that storyline, it can't really affect that storyline, right? It's not like, sorry, Robin, we played like this, so now that faction doesn't like us anymore, so we're fucked over here. That's not possible, right? So we try to encapsulate as much as possible, and it actually opens up a lot of cool design venues. You're a bit more free, and you can do a cool progression thing within the storyline. But there's always going to be character interlinks where you can see, are they foreshadowing like the next story thing? So there's always going to be links and hints to something else, right? And if you run into like a company or a character or something like this person or company might show up at a later date in a different storyline, you know?
Cool. I think that opens so many doors to do one campaign or one set of missions and then do something completely different for the next. I think that sounds like the right way to go about it.
Yeah. I want to make stuff that's more, instead of making the same thing again and again, I'd like to, we have a couple of like planned, like these are probably the storylines we're gonna make. Like I think we have like, I won't say the number. Anyway, but they're conceptual ideas. But what I try to do with them is try to like lean into feels. So you go like, oh, this is like a matinee flavored storytelling, or this is like a vampire thing, you know, or something like this. Just grab something that's not necessarily expected and then twist it enough to fit into the theme. But it's because it's a sci-fi thriller heist game, it's quite open, you know.
Exactly.
So, but that's more fun, I think, than trying to do like chapter 1, chapter 2 type approach, and then do more like weird links in between and funky stuff in between. You know?
Speaking of things that are open, I am enamored with the idea of dives. I haven't got to play one yet because
okay.
we failed too many
Okay,
times.
so-
It's
so
a difficult game.
Later on today or tomorrow,
Later on
maybe,
today,
yeah,
I'll
so-
find a way.
Yeah.
But dives, talk to me a bit about where that concept came from. And I know we've seen the parkour dive so far, but you've also mentioned a Norwegian forest one.
Yeah.
I know Simon spoke a little bit about another one this morning, so that door seems so open to so many different possibilities. Where did that all come from?
I mean, there's a thematic thing, and then there's the psychological sort of gameplay angle. But if you start on the gameplay, there's the constant churn of combat or constant. It becomes very samey. So if you play a lot of Payday, I guess, you'll see that it's ramping up like this and it flattens out with the same intensity, right? If you play, I guess, Left 4 Dead does it quite well with the ups and downs, ebbs and flows, classical like AI-directed experience, right? But if you play GTFO, it's not an AI-directed experience. It's based on what you do. So if you fuck it up, you fucked it up, which is harder in cooperative, especially when playing with strangers. So I think we're trying to find like the center point there, and basically to get those ups and downs and get a high variation in the game. Dives show up as sort of a solution for that, because otherwise we're like, oh, you're always in the city or you're always in this place, and you run out of ideas quite quickly as a developer, and it's nice to have an open, playing field. It's also fun to develop for as an artist, because you're like, oh, let's make a forest, and you make like a small thing. There's no transitions in and out. You just, boom, you're in the forest, right? So, yeah, but the tech behind it is more complex, of course, because it's time pausing and it's saving world states and a bunch of annoying things. But once you have that up, which we do now, it's a very nice place to be in, because you can throw wild shit at people, right? We're not saying that we're gonna make like, oh, every dive is unique, because we need to be able to ramp difficulty up. And we also, just from a production point of view, like you can't make everything unique. Like it wouldn't be, we're not GTA, so. But we can play around a lot in that space. And it also enables you to do maybe things that people don't think about too much. It's like when you play a dive, you can actually die. Because basically if you fail, you get bumped out into the real world. So that means you can do game mechanics that are quite rinse and repeat and sort of trial and error-ish. Because you're like, oh, what the fuck happened? Like we ran and did this thing, and I think it was something like this, and then we fail. And we get bumped out to whatever it's happening in the real world, and then we get another attempt to do it, right? And this means you can actually execute on gameplay that's quite simple almost, in a way, because we don't want to tutorialize it, but at the same time it can be very like, you quickly understand what you have to do, but it's a lot about skills and getting accustomed to that space. So the sort of movement puzzly thing is a lot of like wall running stuff and upside down shit and levels being folded in on each other, and yeah, it's a weird thing, but it makes it like, it opens it up for like less like, what do you say, quadruple A nowadays.
I suppose so.
I keep saying it because it's so silly. No, but like when striving for high quality, I think people polish shit to death, so it's completely uninteresting after a while, because it's so like, everything is just like a cheese without a taste, It's like, oh, it melts in my mouth, but it's nothing, like it has no character anymore. And I think what we like to do is make things that are a bit bumpy and a bit like, oh, what's this? Like, like a bit more old school in a sense of like, we trust players to be smart enough to figure shit out, you know, and it's okay to die and lose, and it's fine.
In the trailer for the Do the Game docuseries, you mentioned, and I love this quote, you said, there's a gap in the market for a good fucking heisting game, or something along those lines.
I'm sure, it sounds pretty accurate, yeah.
I think you have correctly identified that. I think we all know this.
Yeah.
My question is, and this is for me this is a personal one, there is also a big gap in the market for a good heisting game, even more so on the consoles.
Yeah.
I'm a massive console player. The console's my bread and butter.
Yeah.
I'm sure for the early access period, it's probably off the table, but is there a possibility of Den of Wolves on console?
We are developing on console at the same time, just making sure it builds and this kind of thing. But
fantastic, I wasn't aware.
we never know, like the final decision to ship has to be when the game is like at a quality where a console player is getting what they want out of a console. And as a console player, I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. If it's too buggy, it's not what I want. It's like, why do I have a Mac instead of a PC? It's like a PC I have to fix shit myself. Mac is more like, yeah, but it can't do all the things, you know? So
You've said that to a Mac user, so
yeah, you know what I mean.
You get it. 100%.
And I have both, and it depends on what I'm doing. If I'm developing, I want a PC. If I'm a user, I want a Mac, you know? And I think for me, when I'm playing PlayStation, I just want to relax and I buy this game and it works and it doesn't crash, you know? And I think once the game is, you know, there or close to there, then you could move to a console. But before that, I don't think we're doing anybody any favors. And I think it's better to be like in an environment that embraces this kind of behavior, which is Steam, where we can be a bit more like, fucking patch it, you know, patch it now. But because we want to do like day in day. Like we could patch like in GTFO, we patched every day in sometimes. And it's, you can be a bit more gung-ho, but also and take more risks. And that's nice, I think, for everyone.
The saying is you've got to break a few eggs to make an omelette, so break the eggs and serve the console players the omelette.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Patching consistency sounds good. We won't have to wait months on end for updates.
No, exactly. But you wanna be where on the console you wanna be at the quality level where you don't have to do a lot of patching, you know. So I think once we get there, then that discussion is gonna start to happen too, and then there's deals to be made, and then there's blah blah blah.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, I am off to hopefully squeeze in some more playtime with the game, see if I can get that dive done, see if I can get through the heist. Yeah. Thank you for your time. It's a pleasure meeting you, pleasure getting a chance to speak to you, and I'll...
Sorry for being tired.
Oh, it's okay. We're all tired. We're all tired.
Yeah.
You're hard at work. We're busy playing.
I guess. Cool, man.
Good to meet you.
Thank you, man.
I'm really pleased with how this interview went. It was such a surreal experience to be invited out to 10 Chambers a couple of weeks back and have the chance to be among the first people in the world to play the game for themselves. Thank you all for your unending support on my channel that puts me in a position to have these kind of opportunities, and if you're interested in learning more about my initial impressions, having now played Den of Wolves, you can click the video on screen now, and I'll see you in the next video.